everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to the PHLY Flyers Pregame Show presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening. Joining me tonight, it's Philadelphia's #1 hockey beat writer, Charlie O'Connor. How was your New Year's, Charlie?
It was nice. How was yours, Bill?
Oh, it was outstanding. You know, we wrapped the show, like 15, 20 minutes before the stroke of midnight. So we celebrated a little bit and spent January 1st the way it was meant to be spent, on the couch doing nothing.
Exactly.
So that was absolutely fantastic, Charlie. But now we are back. We are back with the first PHLY Flyers broadcast of the new year, kicking off 2025 with some Flyers Golden Knights action out in Vegas. Nice little 10:07 puck drop for us. And
love it so much.
I know it's your favorite thing.
It's your favorite thing as well, Bill. We love staying up super late to do shows.
I got to tell you, I really do appreciate the West Coast trips. I really like them when you're not on them, because then you get to do the shows with me, and my lifestyle kind of gets to go back to what it always was. This whole working thing these last couple of years hasn't really agreed with me, but now we get to go back to, my schedule, where you work till 1 and then figure everything out from there. But the Flyers will be out in Vegas tonight, Charlie. It looks like Aleksei Kolosov will get the start. I haven't seen of any other lineup changes tonight. It looks like we're going to be rolling with the same group, one would assume.
Given how that San Jose game went, I don't see any reason why you would change up pretty much anything. The only reason why they're changing up the goaltender is because Sam Ersson got banged up in that game. I suspect if Sam Ersson came out of the game fully healthy, he'd be starting this game as well. They'd want to ride him, after I guess you could say 1 2/3 straight strong games. But unfortunately, Sam Ersson is not available for this game, so Aleksei Kolosov gets the nod. I would imagine that Ivan Fedotov will, for the first time in almost a month, dress for the Flyers. Now, no guarantee he'll actually play. The Flyers hope he won't play. They hope Aleksei Kolosov plays well. But there's at least a theoretical opportunity for Ivan Fedotov for the first time in a little under a month.
He will take warm-ups. He'll see shots in warm-ups. He'll be out there. He'll be dressed for the first time in a little while. Hopefully, we don't see him until an actually scheduled start, because I don't want to find out what the plan is behind Fedotov, quite honestly. But Charlie, we take a look at the rest of the lineup, and we don't have lines yet. But I suspect we're going to be seeing 1C Ryan Poehling. I mean, it's not as if they have a first, second, and third line, and they didn't really have 4 different lines on.
Sure.
In the last game on New Year's Eve. It was a pretty even distribution of ice time we talked about after the game. But do you think maybe we'll be seeing Ryan Poehling and that, what'd you call it, the NASCAR line together again?
Yeah, well, I'm going with they call, if you're not a football fan, because it's obviously a reference to NASCAR, but it's also a football reference because NFL teams call their package where basically they run all their defensive linemen or defensive ends, and it's just a straight up speed pass rush. Usually it's when the other team has no choice but to throw in late game situations. So you just throw all your pass rushers out there. You don't worry about a lack of size. You're just going for speed and quickness to get to the quarterback. In this case, this line is all about speed and quickness, I guess, to get through the neutral zone. You got Owen Tippett. You have Ryan Poehling. You have Travis Konecny. They are probably, I would guess, their 3 fastest straight line skaters. Like Drysdale is a very good lateral skater. He's got fantastic lateral mobility, but I don't think he could beat any of those 3 guys in a straight line, goal line to goal line type race. Can you think of anybody on the team who might be able to compete with those 3 guys? I feel like they are the 3 fastest.
Yeah, compete with them? No, probably not. Sanheim can skate, especially for his size, and he's got those strides. If it were to be 3 laps, maybe Sanheim could get them. But in a goal line to goal line, I'd be willing to bet with Jet Luchenko representing Team Canada right now that those are the 3 fastest guys on the current roster, and they weren't bad. I kind of like the configuration. I keep saying there are no right answers. There's no right answers for the lineup with the way it's currently constructed, because there aren't any centers that really fit the role of, oh yeah, set and forget top 6 guy. He's a 1C, he's a 2C. We can count on him for this level of production, and we know what we're gonna get. It's not like that. So they're kind of just trying to figure it out. Sean Couturier has held his own for the most part this year. He's probably still their most all-around effective center, but in terms of driving offense, and when you have, Travis Konechny out there, Owen Tippett out there, the 2 guys not named Matvei Michkov that you're actually counting on for some offense, you got to drive a little bit. And what Poehling lacks in, I guess, offensive instincts, he makes up for with just, we can get that puck through that neutral zone and get on offense. So maybe that's what they'll be going with again tonight, Charlie.
Yeah, and it's worth noting too, and I think Sean Couturier has been good this year. He certainly hasn't scared me the way he did the second half, or I guess final third, really, of last season. But it's worth noting that his production has dipped in December. Now December is over. He had 4 points in 12 games. The underlying numbers still fine, maybe not elite, but fine. But you were seeing a bit of a drop off. So, look, we know that for whatever reason, John Tortorella is not totally sold on Sean Couturier as being one of his guys. He's not. My theory is that John Tortorella just loves speed, and he loves speed down the middle. You saw it with Jetlichenko. You see it with Ryan Poehling. Sean Couturier is the opposite of fast at this stage of his career. He never was particularly fast. He's gotten slower as he's gotten older. So my suspicion is that when Couturier isn't passing the eye test with flying colors, that jumps out to Tortorella more than it might to other people, because he already has the skepticism with regards to whether Couturier can actually succeed in a top 6 role given his obvious skating limitations. That could play into why Couturier has been pushed down a little bit. Now, he finished last game middle of the pack in terms of ice time. Wasn't like we talked about this after the San Jose game. It wasn't like he finished the game with 8-9 minutes.
No.
But it is fair to say that when you're on a line with Garnet Hathaway as one of your wingers, you're probably not going to be getting the most minutes on the team.
Yeah, and I wondered, like, the stylistic fit. We're talking, okay, yeah, put Poehling out there because it's 3 guys who are just going to go. Like, that makes sense. Like, I thought when Couturier was with Michkov and Konechny, that kind of made sense, because it's not like Misha's slow. He's not the fastest, but he plays that deliberate, like, I am going to play at my pace. I am going to dictate the pace. If I need to push, I will push. And if I don't, I am going to let the game come to me and then beat it with, my intelligence, my cunning, is how he's going to do it. And now that it's Owen Tippett back on that top line, maybe it makes more sense with Poehling. Who the hell knows? There's no right answers. But Kevin Kurz tweeted this out about an hour ago. I found it interesting, Charlie. Since November 30th, Flyers are 5th in the NHL in goals per game, and it's been a generally balanced attack. Like, Konechny is 13, and there's 3 guys with 12, 2 guys with 10. And it shows, like, even with Couturier's numbers dropping, because a big part of their offense was kind of him getting to the net, even if not factoring into points early, maybe October, November. He was doing a lot of that. In December, without Couturier really producing much on offense at all, they still have figured out a way to get this offense rolling a little bit. But then we get to the problem, the biggest weakness in the, like, here and now for this team. Obviously, they need a center. We might talk a little bit more about center possibilities in post-game, Chuck, but the biggest weakness of the team here and now, they're 31st in goals against in December with 3.93. You can look at the numbers. I checked out NHL.com right before the game, right before pregame went live today, Charlie. Flyers have 3 of the 7 worst goalies by save percentage with goalies who've made at least 10 starts this year. So we go to Aleksei Kolosov tonight. He's 4-7-1 with an 8.72. But he stopped 7 of 7 in the third against the Sharks. He's played better than the numbers a lot this season, but when you look at the numbers, it's like, yeah, he could be better than that and still suck. Like, if he's an 8.72 and he's like, oh, he's played at the talent of an 8.82, like, okay, well, that's bad, but we've seen flashes from Aleksei Kolosov. He'll get the start tonight. depending on how long Sam Ersson will be out, I expect him to get a bulk of the ice time. They haven't been all that interested in playing Ivan Fedotov since they named Kolosov the backup. This is the most interesting, like, here and now storyline with this team is what happens with the goaltenders, I'd say.
Well, it's not even just the most interesting story, as you hinted at, based on, what Kevin tweeted, and truthfully, like, what we've all seen. We've all seen the biggest problem with this team right now is the goaltending. You give this team league average goaltending. We talked about it a couple of days ago. They are probably, if not in a playoff spot, right there. And instead, they're a little bit out because the goaltending has been that poor. So not only is it an interesting story because obviously the status of Ersson makes it interesting. He is the designated number one. Now he is yet again day-to-day with an unnamed lower body injury. If it's yet another tweak of that groin, that's very concerning. Even if it is a short-term injury, it does open up the door for Kolosov to run with it. It's interesting, though, you said that he might be playing better than his numbers. I don't think he has. And here's the reason why. I think people have better feelings about Kolosov because, number one, he's younger, so he's a little bit more of a mystery box. He could develop into something great. He could even be a boat. But it's also the fact that he makes a lot of really impressive saves. And that, I think, sticks in people's heads because it's like, oh, man, there were 2 or 3 shots that probably should have been goals, and he stopped. And that's true. I'm not denying that that is true. The problem is that it seems like every game that he plays the full 60 minutes, he gives up at least one goal where you face palm. And you just think, what was he even doing on that play? It shows how raw he remains. It may speak to his inherent physical limitations in terms of his size. So I don't know if his numbers are an inaccurate way to evaluate his play because, yes, he's making some big, memorable saves that I think has created some goodwill from the fan base towards him, but he's also given up quite a few goals that no NHL goalie should give up, and I think that is rightfully lowering his numbers.
Yeah, he's definitely had some really poor performances, shift to shift, shot to shot. I would also say now that the Flyers seem to maybe have a little consistency on defense, like when you're only seeing 23 shots a night, like that's going to, you face 30 shots, you're going to have a little bit more maybe of an inflated save percentage. And now that it's, kind of back to what it was last season, they're doing a better job of shot suppression for the most part. It's going to go down a little, but he definitely needs to find like that consistency and cut out those bad goals. To be fair, we've said that about all 3 goalies this year. Like Sam Ersson, at least I guess in the coaching staff or management's mind, like the unquestioned number one. We've said that about him a number of times this year too. John Tortorella said it. He just keeps having those 1 or 2 shots that you're like, man, can't we just come up with one? Can't we come up with a big save? And you see like the number of games they've blown in the third period. It makes sense. Like, of course they've blown this number of games in the third period. They have the worst goaltending in the league. So that goes to show you. But I'm hoping maybe some consistent playing time for these guys will see a little bit of an uptick because I'm not sold that any of them are the goalies of the future. I want to see Sam Ersson get a shot. But as we talked about, in the last post game, listen, you keep getting hurt. There's only so much we can do with you, no matter how good you are. And you haven't been that good for a lot of this season. He's had some he's had some really strong games, but for the most part, he's been a disappointment. The other 2 goalies, we just don't know what they are. We'll see. But I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out tonight, Charlie. I'm just looking to see if we have confirmation on the lines yet. And there it is. I just saw it. Yeah, perfect. So we have Lawton, Frost, and Michkov stays together. Forster, Cates, and Brink stays together. Paling will stay between Tippett and Konechny, and Couturier, Farabee, and Hathaway stays on that expensive and veteran-laden 4th line there, and the defense, York, Sanheim, Zamula, Risto, Sealer, Drysdale. I want to talk a little bit about Sealer, Drysdale, Charlie, because I saw you had some interesting takes on the pair on Twitter over the last day or 2.
Yeah, I think they've been good. I think that it's something that maybe has gone a little unnoticed, especially just because I think people are, generally speaking, it's hard for me to even say it's people in general. It may just be people on Twitter or people in our Discord or whatever. But people are frustrated with Jamie Drysdale because maybe the Gauthier stuff, even though he's not playing all that great either, maybe that plays into it because it's just a reminder. So it's saying, well, Jamie Drysdale, he's not very good. I'm not saying that he's anywhere near a finished product. And I'm not saying that he's anywhere close to being ready to be a night in, night out top four defenseman. But what I am saying, and I said this on Twitter today, the Sealer-Drysdale pairing thus far is working. It's working well. Looking at their pairings this year, the pairing they use the most by far is York Sandlin. That is their first pair. Obviously, York was hurt for a while. It got scratched for the one game, but that has been a pair for about 372 minutes at 5-on-5. Their second most used pair this year is Sealer-Drysdale. It's just under 192 minutes. And in those minutes, the Flyers have 57% of the expected goals and 60% of the actual goals. They are, yes, getting sheltered minutes. They are being sheltered. They're being kept away as much as possible from, top two lines. They are. That is what happens with a third pair. However, what a sheltered third pair is supposed to do is they are supposed to flourish in those minutes. They are supposed to collect most of the expected goals. They are supposed to control the 5-on-5 goals play, the shots on goal game, everything like that. They've done that. And it is reassuring. Like, I don't know what Jamie Drysdale is ultimately going to become. I don't know what his ceiling ultimately is. But if you looked at his numbers as an NHL defenseman, regardless of where he played, his numbers were bad. He was getting played on the top pair in Anaheim. He was getting played on the second pair. Last year, he was kind of bouncing up and down the lineup for the Flyers when he was healthy, post-trade, or healthy-ish, because he never really was fully healthy, but healthy enough to play, I guess is the better way to put it. Now he's being used almost exclusively in a third pair sheltered role. We are seeing what he can do when given the easiest minutes. And it is a good sign that in the easiest minutes, he's kind of crushing them. Now, some people are going to look at it and say, well, he's not scoring enough points. And fair. They want Jamie Drysdale to score points because they were sold on him as a scoring power play quarterback type defenseman. He's not there yet. I really, and I know this is a place where me and you differ, Bill, I don't really give a crap about points from defensemen. Now, power play points, sure. But I don't really pin the power play woes on the defenseman. I pin the power play woes on the guy calling the shots on the power play. And I'm really not going to be judging anybody too harshly on that until they have a new coach running the power play. That's just my personal opinion. I would be fine with having a bunch of defensemen who get 0 points at 5-on-5 ever, as long as the team is dominating the goals and the expected goals and the shot on goal game. And thus far, in a sheltered role, Jamie Drysdale is helping the Flyers collect most of the goals and the expected goals when he's on the ice. So I am perfectly happy with what he's doing, even if he's not racking up the points yet.
The power play, it's getting worse somehow, and they've been together longer. Like, at a certain point, it's not just personnel. It's personnel. But there's something else wrong here.
I mean, that would be better if they had better players, but they still shouldn't be this bad.
Like, if they had better players, yeah, they'd be at like 20%, and be like, well, why aren't they at 25?
Yeah.
I'll say yes. If you could have a world where you had 6 defensemen who never scored any actual points, but the play driving was so good that you're getting 60% of the actual goals, sure. You would probably end up picking up a decent amount of points because you're out there a lot.
Fair.
And someone on this defense has to generate offense. They have to figure out someone who can get the puck from their end to the offensive end and help create goals. No one has really done that consistently. We've seen it a little from York. Sanheim, when he's hot, he does it in bunches, and then we see the offense go away for a little bit, and then we see it come back. That's why we're not sure if he's like, yeah, he's really good. Maybe not a number one. I need Drysdale as a dude who was taken 6th in the draft and traded for a 5th overall pick to score. If it's all on the power play, that's fine, though, because my expectation for him now is, man, if we can turn this guy into Shane Gostisbehere, a third pair dude that maybe you shelter, but he can kill it for you on the power play, awesome. If he's more than that, great. But he hasn't played enough. He hasn't been able to stay healthy enough for me to expect a ton of development out of him. And if this is what he is and he adds, the power play gets better eventually, I can live with it. But someone on this D eventually has to put up some points for this team. And I do understand people's frustrations with that. They just don't have that guy. Hopefully he's coming, Charlie. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Well, I mean, Sam does have 21 points in 38 games, so he does score. Now, you're right; it does tend to come in bunches, but he is pacing for over half point per game, over 40 points a year. That's not bad.
No, he has by far over the last couple of years been their best. It just seems like it's there, and then there's 2 weeks where he's just nowhere to be found in terms of offense, and then it comes back. And that probably has a lot to do with the number of minutes he's being asked to play, how much responsibility he has, not just, he barely plays on the power play, if at all, and then kills penalties 5-on-5, the toughest minutes. It's generally difficult to put up points that way. That's why power play ice time is so highly coveted. Like, I want that time so I can put up my points because I'm doing so much other crap the rest of the game. All right. It's time for the bets, Charlie. This pregame pick segment is brought to you by Bet365. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or somebody who knows a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Just the one bet tonight. I did see someone in our comments put slam the over tonight, and I would endorse that. I thought about the over. It is, however, 6.5. If just one of Kolosov or Samsonov goes off tonight, as we saw in the Sharks game, what feels like a pure over could burn. But I am going to go. My official bet is Bobby Brink, anytime goal, Charlie. He hasn't scored in his last 14 games. Hasn't scored since that real nice play between him and Forster against Shesterkin on, I believe that was the Black Friday game against the Rangers.
Wow.
And it's really just funny to think about what we believe he has been doing since now and then and what the numbers actually say. He does have 7 assists and 16 shots on goal in these last 14 games, so he's right there at half a point a game. His line has been rolling. It's been the line that John Tortorella refuses to break up. At 5-1 against Ilya Samsonov, why not? Why not have a he's due bet on Bobby Brink tonight, Charlie?
It does feel like he's due. He's been playing very well.
Yeah.
Just like everyone on that line. Noah Cates obviously has been playing great. Tyson Forrester's been producing at a pretty high level. So it's not like he hasn't been performing, and he's producing points. He's racking up the assists. But I do like the idea of him breaking through, especially thinking back. They played this team a few weeks ago, and I believe it was in something like an 11-goal game. There were a lot of goals scored.
5-4 in a shootout, I think.
Yeah, 9 goals.
5?
Yeah, it was 6-5 or 5-4. These two teams know how to light up the scoreboard. Aleksei Kolosov probably due for at least one underwhelming goal because that seems like what he does when he plays full 60 minutes. And the Flyers have been scoring a lot of goals. That line's been real good. Yeah, I like this bet. I like the chance of Bobby Brink pulling it off.
I'm just rooting for Bobby Brink, man. I like him. I like the way he plays. I like the way he's added some physicality, added some intensity to his game. He's not just a perimeter playmaker right now. He wins battles. He's not a big guy, but you can see him mixing it up. He's getting to the net and getting pucks to the net. I think he gets one tonight. Why not? 5-1. All right. Brenna says we have just one super chat. Let's hit that super chat now and then talk about Vegas a little bit. From Gary B. Hell yeah, my favorite podcast hosts. Let's effing go Flyers. Well, thank you very much, Gary B. Appreciate that quite a bit. So Charlie, they're in Vegas tonight, and I will always remember Vegas as you and I went with Kelly and Steph. Was it like the week after the Eagles won the Super Bowl in the Golden Knights' inaugural season in what was just an absolutely incredible trip? If you want to come on a trip with us soon, maybe think about going to Montreal April 4th to the 7th. Going to be a pretty damn great time. They say it's Vegas with snow. Montreal is, I've heard. But it's PHLY and Philly Sports Strips putting this together April 4th to the 7th. Go to allphly.com for all the details. We have a bunch of packages. It's going to be really cool. Brian Prop's going to be there. Me, Charlie, Kelly, going to be a great time. So come on out. Make sure you get your travel packages now, kids. So these Vegas Golden Knights, Charlie, they basically didn't lose in December. They went 10-2 in December, but they did lose on New Year's Eve. They're coming off a 3-2 loss to Montreal. And this team, it's funny, like they have had many different iterations in what is, a pretty short amount of time that they have existed. It seems like the lineup has rolled over. They've rolled over coaches, GMs. One thing that stays pretty consistent, though, they're really freaking good. And that's where we are with this team now. They are 25-9-3. Like I said, 10-2 in December, 130 goals for to just 101 against. How have they been able to just maintain this level of consistency?
Well, I thought last year might be the first sign of them dipping a bit. They lose in round one. They weren't as impressive by the numbers. And interestingly enough, they're not, by 5-on-5 numbers at least, they're not dominant in terms of play driving like they used to be. They're just kind of right around break even, but they just have a lot of really good players. That's really what it boils down to. And Vegas is a fun team. I'm sure they're a fun team to be a fan of because they're always doing things. I've made the point that Vegas is about as close as you can get in the salary cap era to doing business the way Ed Snyder did for the Flyers back in the anything goes. We go after every single big name player, whether it be a trade or free agency. They operate as close to that as you possibly can in this day and age. And it does make for them to be a fascinating team to watch. Plus, they're a well-coached team. They're a well-coached team. They play hard. They've always been strong on the forecheck, literally dating back to their very first year. But, I mean, you got guys like Jack Eichel, you got Mark Stone. Their defense is pretty loaded, at least in the top four. They just have – they can roll so many good players at you that they can probably overcome, at least they have so far this year, they can overcome not carrying play to the degree they did, 4 or 5 years ago.
As you just look at it, I'm like, yeah, they have I always forget. Oh yeah, they did trade for Tomas Hertl, and he's playing under 17 minutes a game for them. He's just second, third line player, real nice guy, 25 points this season. They go out and get Noah Hannafin at the trade deadline. The Flyers were the conduits for that. Yeah. They were the middleman. They are just always in the middle of stuff, and that would be really fun. I think it's what a lot of Flyers fans our age really miss about the pre-salary cap era, and even coming out of the lockout. Man, we got Forsberg and Hatcher, and a couple of years later, we went out and got Danny Briere. We brought in this Scott Hartnell and this Chemo Timonen guy. It used to be how the Flyers did things, and I think people really, really miss that.
I totally think they do. And Vegas is maybe the only team in the NHL that, as I said, resembles what the Flyers once were. What's interesting, and I've always wondered if it's ever going to bite Vegas, but it hasn't yet, is just the fact that they don't have the greatest reputation in player circles. Everybody wants to play for Vegas because it's Vegas and the team's real good. But they don't have the greatest reputation in player circles for being a particularly trustworthy franchise that, hey, they'll get rid of you, and they'll get rid of you with no qualms whatsoever. It'll be pretty heartless. They'll dump you. It doesn't seem to have hurt them yet. It still seems like players want to go there because they want rings and they want to play in the fun city.
You get to live in Vegas. You are as far media-wise from Canada and the Northeast as you can geographically get. I know Kelly doesn't want to hear it, but state income tax. There's just a lot of reasons. There's a lot of reasons to like playing for the Vegas Golden Knights, and I guess that's paid off for them. But Charlie, that is just about all the time we have for you on the PHLY Flyers pregame show presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Charlie and I will be back after this game goes final with post-game for you. So make sure you stay tuned right here to our YouTube page when that goes live. Hit that reminder bell. Never miss a live show. You know the whole deal. All right. We will talk to you once this game is over. Until then, I'm Bill Matz. That's Charlie O'Connor. Let's go Flyers.